Okay, so have you ever been in that moment? Someone casually asks, "So, what did you do today?" And you just kind of freeze.
Uh-huh.
Your mind races, maybe you're searching for the words, or worse, you start translating word for word in your head and just end up completely stuck.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a common frustration for English learners, isn't it?
It really is.
And today, as we've been diving deep into our sources, articles, research, practical guides on language acquisition, well, a really powerful shortcut has emerged.
Okay.
This deep dive is basically all about unlocking that skill. Talk about your daily life fluently, naturally, without all that mental gymnastics of translation.
Right. That's really our mission here, to help you, the listener, actually think in English, speak with more confidence, and finally make English feel like a comfortable, integral part of your daily rhythm.
Exactly.
Because honestly, it's rarely the super complex grammar rules that trip most learners up when it's just everyday conversation.
No, you're spot on. The core problem, and our sources really highlight this, it's that deeply ingrained habit, translating every single word from your native language.
Mm.
That's what creates that slow, sometimes robotic-sounding speech. But what's really insightful here, and this is backed by solid evidence, is why it's such a bottleneck.
Okay, why?
Well, your brain is essentially trying to perform two really complex tasks at the same time, instead of just one.
Ah, right, like multitasking overload.
Exactly. It's like trying to run, two demanding apps at full power on an old phone. It just doesn't work well, and the research confirms it. A really fascinating study by the British Council found that learners who actively practice thinking directly in English, they improve their fluency 2 times faster.
Wow, 2 times faster. That's a pretty compelling reason to ditch the translation habit. It really speaks to streamlining that whole mental process.
It does.
So, okay, what's the first, practical step? How do you actually start making that shift, especially for talking about your daily routine?
Right. Let's unpack this foundational technique. It's actually simpler than you might think. It's about thinking out loud.
Thinking out loud.
Yeah. Imagine you wake up. Don't just go through the motions silently. Narrate your daily life in English, even if it's just quietly to yourself.
Okay, that's interesting. So just saying things like, I'm getting out of bed, or I'm brushing my teeth, maybe, ugh, I need coffee now. What makes that so powerful?
Well, it's like building cognitive muscle memory.
Fair
Seriously. Your mouth and your brain start getting used to working together directly in English. You're forming those neural connections faster.
Ah, the brain-mouth connection.
Precisely. And what's particularly interesting from our research is seeing this in action. This technique was used really successfully with Japanese students.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they became noticeably more fluid, more confident in just everyday English within weeks.
Just weeks.
Mm-hmm. Because they were actively training their brains to process and produce English without that translation detour.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So building that direct pathway. Now, thinking beyond just narrating single actions, where do we go next? How do we get more strategic?
Right, so here's where we move beyond just isolated sentences. Our sources really emphasize this as a kind of power move. Focus on common English structures, rather than trying to memorize tons of individual full sentences.
Structures, like templates.
Exactly, templates
Right.
or flexible framework. It's a crucial distinction. Instead of trying to recall one specific sentence for one situation, you learn these adaptable patterns.
Okay.
So, for example, some incredibly useful ones we found are things like, I usually after I... Simple, right?
Yeah.
Or, I try to before I go to pray.
Ah.
And maybe for the evening, something like, in the evening I like to pray.
Ah, I see. So the advantage for you, the listeners, that you can just plug in your own life, right? Make countless personal combinations.
Precisely.
So you could say, I usually eat breakfast after I walk the dog. Or I try to check my email before I go to work. And in the evening, I like to watch Netflix. Or whatever it is you do. It makes your English feel more organic, more you, rather than just memorize phrases.
Absolutely. It feels natural. And this approach, focusing on structures and personal relevance, often leads to real breakthroughs. We actually found a great anecdote in our research about a guy named Carlos.
Okay, tell me about Carlos.
He's a sales representative from Argentina, and initially he just avoided talking about himself or his day. He was really afraid of making mistakes.
Oh, I get that. That fear of sounding imperfect, it can be paralyzing.
Totally. It's that constant internal editor, right? So his solution was actually remarkably simple, but really effective.
What did you do?
He started keeping a daily journal in English,
Ah, journaling.
but not complicated essays or anything, just 5 sentences a day. about his routine, his thoughts, whatever came to
It's
mind.
just 5 sentences. Simple.
Very simple. And the striking outcome. After only 1 month, Carlos wasn't just, more fluent. He actually gained this profound sense of pride in his progress.
That's huge. Pride is a big motivator.
It really is. And if we connect this back, why did it work so well? Because the topic, his own life, was immediately real. It was personally relevant. It wasn't some abstract, kind of detached textbook exercise.
That personal relevance, yeah, that seems key. It fuels consistency, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Okay, so that's journaling. And speaking of efficiency, our sources mentioned another quick tip too, right? About how we think.
Yes, exactly. Stop thinking word by word. Instead, you need to cultivate the habit of thinking in natural English chunks, expressions.
Chunks, like phrases that go together.
Precisely. It's how native speakers actually communicate.
Mhm.
We don't usually assemble sentences piece by piece, word by word. We use what linguists sometimes call lexical chunks or collocations, phrases that just naturally belong together.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure. So instead of trying to translate something like the Vietnamese "Tôi đang uống café" word for word.
Which would be like, I am drinking coffee.
Right. But a native speaker would more likely just think in the ready-made chunk, "I'm having coffee."
Having coffee.
Yeah.
Much more natural.
Exactly. It taps into the brain's pattern recognition. It speeds up your delivery, makes you sound more natural without extra effort.
That's super efficient, a real shortcut to sounding more authentic. So what are some other good chunks people could use? Phrases that just sort of roll off the tongue?
Oh, there are loads. But some really common useful ones are like, "I'm heading to," instead of "I'm going to."
Right. Heading to work, heading to the gym.
Exactly. Or "I just finished." Like, "I just finished breakfast." And a great one for mornings. "I usually start my day with."
I usually start my day with coffee, obviously.
Yeah. Yes, often. But yeah, practice using these kinds of chunks, and you'll find yourself sounding more native, often without even consciously trying.
Great tips. Okay, so we've covered quite a bit.
We really have. We've
Yeah.
definitely uncovered some real gold nuggets in this deep dive, practical insights straight from the research and guides we looked at. Maybe we should recap the core actionable steps for everyone listening.
Good idea. Let's boil it down. So number 1, start narrating your daily life out loud in English, even just to yourself.
Number 2, utilize those flexible structures we talked about, like "I usually after it." Adapt them to your life.
Okay. Third, consider keeping that simple English journal. Just 5 sentences a day, focused on your own real experiences.
Yep. And finally, number 4, make a conscious effort to think in natural English chunks, those common phrases, not translating individual words.
Perfect. 4 clear takeaways.
We really hope this deep dive has given you some tangible tools, maybe some fresh perspectives to get started today, or to boost your current practice. And if you found it valuable, please share it with others who might benefit from these ideas.
Absolutely. And maybe just one final thought to leave you with. Remember, these daily practices we've discussed, they aren't just about acquiring language skills, are they?
No, not at all.
As we've seen from the research from stories like Carlos's, it's really about fundamentally shifting your relationship with English. It's about transforming it from maybe this subject you study into something organic, confident, and truly an integral part of who you are and how you navigate your world every single day.